Good day and welcome to Tough Talk. My name is Steve Badier. Our discussion today is focused on African youth. We'll be asking the questions. Are African youth taking advantage of the many opportunities in Australia to empower themselves? What are those opportunities and how can they take advantage of them? And joining me to discuss this topic are two of the young vibrant men within the African community, Stephen Tongon
There you go.
and Jemiah Phillips. So just for a bit of background, Jemiah is a social worker and Stephen is an entertainer and a graduate in law and finance. So welcome on the show, bro.
Good to be here, man. Thank you.
Okay. So to start with, man, just getting things started right away. Most of the time, for African youth that are attracting negative attention in the Australian media for all the bad reasons, people often point towards their lack of them not taking advantage of the opportunities in Australia to empower themselves.
Sure.
And just for you guys being someone who basically grew up in Australia, do you see this as a sort of legitimate assessment of those youth?
I think to some point there certainly is some truth in that. The reason being, I think we're very lucky to come to Australia where there's so many opportunities. And as you know, clearly things like education, are almost, it's not free here, but at the same time, it's not like you have to have the money up front. So when it comes to opportunities like that, I think we need to take full advantage. And in my personal view, I don't think not enough young, African youth are doing that. So that's one of the points. What do you think?
Yeah, I think in terms of opportunities, in my head, thinking about what those opportunities are, and I think you've already mentioned one, education, opportunities around employment, training as well. I think personally, in my personal experience, I've met young people who have currently completing high school.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of young people who have completed high school, have gone straight into work. I've met young people who have completed high school and they are gone to university. Some are currently studying. So yes, there are young people who are making use of those opportunities, and however, I do think that more work needs to be done in terms of encouraging our young people, some of our young people,
Sure.
to utilize some of those opportunities, especially around employment, around education. And you're right, in Australia, not everything is free.
Yeah.
But I think the beauty of being in Australia is that those opportunities are available,
Sure.
and we can access those opportunities.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that there aren't barriers, especially around employment.
Yeah.
I know young people who have completed high school, they've done the right thing, completed high school, they've completed university, struggling to find work. So that in itself, there are barriers around that.
That's right.
But yeah, I think more work needs to be done to encourage our young people. I think our community in general to make something of their lives in Australia.
Certainly. I think when it comes to opportunities, we have to be real about it in many senses. Just like you said, just because you've studied as well doesn't necessarily mean you'll get work at the end of the line as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that sometimes, they have to weigh the two things. Should I just start working?
Yeah.
Or should I
Get
go
a
and
degree?
study,
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of the times, as much as this is my personal experience, if you go to university, for instance, and you have that 4 years, for instance, to study and perhaps do some part-time work in between, I think you're better off doing that and coming off, at the end of the day, knowing very much you've learned something. A lot of the times it'll give you a clear indication of where you want to end up. As opposed to somebody who's just basically saying, you know what, I'm at the stage in my life where I need to work, I need to get money. And very, very many people, many young Africans get caught up in that. They want the lifestyle. They want to be able to sort of buy the car. They want to take the girl out for a day. And let's face it, Centrelink, unfortunately, it's limited.
Yeah.
It's not enough at all.
Not enough.
And so it is one of those things. And I think for us though, one thing we need to desperately do is cast the net wide as well. So when it comes to opportunities, it doesn't necessarily mean just education or just work. There's many other attributes you could have. You could be great at sport and you could take that avenue as well. We know so many young people that are so talented and are fortunate enough to be given the opportunity, for instance, to showcase their talents,
Yeah.
perhaps in the AFL and some of the amateur soccer tournaments.
Yeah.
So things like that I think are really important.
Yeah.
But my thing is, if opportunities are there, take advantage of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think,
No. And I think around opportunities as well, I think there's a misconception that just because you're in Australia means that everything's just on the table that you can go and grab. Opportunities sometimes they are within reach,
yeah.
but other times we have to go
Good,
beyond.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
good.
and I think just having that balance, understanding and perspective of what the opportunities are and what do I need to do. Individual responsibility comes within that.
Sure.
You know, Australia we have the platform to be able to engage in those opportunities,
Yeah.
but it comes to the individual, going out for this
Yeah.
opportunity, doing that. And I also think too, some young people that I've met, they've completed high school, they're working, but sometimes they feel that it's not good enough because someone else has gone to university. They
Yeah.
feel that's more important.
Yeah.
And I think and I think it's not only within our young people, also within our parents as well. What we classify as good work. And my advice would be don't use someone else's standard for
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
So
Yeah.
University is not for everyone.
Exactly.
But you have completed school, you engage in some sort of training.
Yeah.
That you've got a vision for what you want to do, and you're following that. That's what it's about.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think, man, that's beautiful. You guys have already answered the second question, which was going to be, what are those opportunities? And it is really important that we, like you guys said, like we focus so much or invest so much of our understanding of what is opportunity around education, especially university. But
Yeah.
that is not the only thing. And like you mentioned, soccer, amateur sport, entertainment,
Arts,
everything
Arts,
else. There's so much
Music,
around it, like
yeah.
mentoring program. You being a social worker, there are a lot of good mentoring programs that African youth could take advantage of. But then, to me, there's just looking on the flip side of things here. You have a situation where Africans that have graduated. So let us assume these are people that have taken advantage of opportunities like in education, university degrees, and so don't find job or struggle to find job. Maybe might be underemployed or whatever the case may be. Then you have young Africans for whatever reason were not taking advantage of education and other things. So if those who have graduated are not getting job, what's going to encourage those who haven't or who are not thinking about school to even consider going to uni? So what's the benefits there? And I think that's a tricky tricky thing to balance for young people who say, oh, my older brother went to university and graduated and he's not doing anything.
Sure.
He's unemployed, so maybe I don't need to go to university too.
Yeah.
And again, we talk about opportunities, but we don't talk about creating opportunities and how important is it for us to move to the next step of creating opportunities. Is something that we need to do, something that we can do as a community.
Yeah. I think you've hit it on the nail. I think for us, especially some of us who have been in Australia for quite a while, I think it's really important for us to start creating those opportunities as well. In terms of showing everyone at least the landscape, especially the young youth, a lot of the times you have to lead by example.
Yeah.
And if a young person sees me doing it, there's a good chance
They will do it,
follow,
yeah.
They'll follow the trend. And I think that's always the best way. But one thing I've always tried to sort of instill in youth, for me, success has a few different recipes.
Yeah.
And one of the most important ones is preparation, opportunity, and a bit of luck.
Yeah.
So the reason I say that is you need to be prepared. Just because you want to embark on studies, mentally you have to be on that mind frame. Yes, your friends are going to be around you. They might be working, driving expensive cars, looking good, but you've got to be prepared also to sacrifice a bit of that.
Yeah.
Opportunities. You need to be able to sort of network,
Yeah.
talk to the right people that perhaps can be able to sort of give you some sort of insight into, for instance, the occupation you're going into,
Yeah.
like a mentor or somebody who's there to help in a sense. Could be a family network, something like that, something similar to that in a sense. But then lastly, a bit of luck. Like you said, not everyone will get jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you show a bit of, initiative and actually go an extra mile as well, and you're passionate about what you do, chances is you are going to get there.
Yeah.
So I guess creating opportunities is very, very important for us to really focus on that as some of the older guys as well, because the young guys need to see us do it first.
Yeah,
in order
definitely.
to follow us.
They need that, man.
Yeah.
They need that.
Yes, definitely, and I think I would also add that, you know, with our young people, not only focus within our own African community, but also look outside.
Yeah.
Because our community, Australian society is very multicultural, and I think the risk is that sometimes we tend to focus within our own African communities
That's a good point.
and not draw on the support that are outside there,
Yeah.
outside, you know.
That's a good point.
And I think when you talk about mentoring, and I think sometimes, you know, and we get that within our communities, but sometimes, you know, it could be a coach outside your own community,
Yeah.
you know, someone who you work with, someone who you've seen and you see their life and you think, oh, I need some direction, can I ask this person? And not being, you know, shy, afraid to ask, you know, I don't know what I need to do here, but this is where I want to get.
Yeah.
Can you help me?
Sure.
You know, and being open to that. So yeah, definitely. And I think also too, we got to be realistic about success. You know, someone said once, you know, success is not the height that you climb, but the obstacles that you overcome to get where you want to go.
Sure.
And I think, you know, especially around employment, people say, you know, the average person, you know, you apply for 40 jobs before you get one.
Yeah.
You know, and I think Africans, we need to be realistic in terms of employment. I think, you know, I'll go for the first job, second, third job. That doesn't mean I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
But my persistence,
It's true.
you know, to persevere and go, you know what? Yeah, I've been knocked back once, but I'm going to go again.
I'm with you.
And not. And unemployment at the moment is not only an African issue, but it's a broader Australian issue.
That's
You know,
right.
there are heaps of people out there who haven't got jobs.
Very
you
true.
know,
Very true.
white and black. You know,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so just maintaining that balance as well. So okay, so I'm not the only person in this boat.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. But yeah, also to the other issue around, you know, some young people seeing their older brothers or sisters not getting job after they've studied. Just because your brother doesn't have a job because they've studied doesn't mean that the same thing gonna happen to you.
Yeah.
You know, we're all unique, you know, and it shouldn't stop you from going after what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
I think we need to keep it real though. One thing I've noticed, there's a trend specifically within the African community.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of the times there's this photocopying trend.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people tend
competing, right?
well, competing, but the thing is, no one's really diversifying.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Everyone is kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
at university, for instance, everybody's doing international studies.
Yeah,
Do
so
you see
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not knocking anybody who's studying that. I'm just keeping it real.
What about nursing though?
With nursing as well.
man.
A lot of nurses too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we love the nurses. Don't get me wrong. You know, caring is a very important
Yeah.
part of our community. But the thing is, we also need to branch out.
diversify.
And like you said before, we don't all necessarily have to walk the same the same way. Other people can actually do other things that fits their own personalities, as opposed to following exactly what the norm is.
Yeah.
But I try and tell people, you know, it's all about challenging yourselves. At the end of the day, if you are in a situation where you know you can see there's something you're interested in, you know, just as an example, acting. It's one of those things, for instance, I never really thought I was good at it, but at the same time, I was curious about it, and I wanted to sort of explore that. So instead of basically saying, okay, well, you know, I'm just going to continue just, you know, watching everybody else on the screen, I thought, let me give it a go.
Yeah.
But the truth is, once you make that commitment, a lot of the times, you will see that opportunities are coming. And I was very lucky because at the same time, I was one of the early Africans who came to Australia. And because I took the initiative, everyone said, well, we don't really have many people like you. This is great.
Yeah.
So automatically you become a trendsetter in a sense, you know, as opposed to somebody who's following. So I encourage a lot of the young guys out there, take the opportunities out there. And go as wide as you can.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need to be seen in different platforms. We need to be in different occupations. And at the same time, we need to promote ourselves in all those spheres.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think you guys have made a lot of key points, right? But just going back to, and I think, okay, first with your point about diversifying our communities and career choices, I don't know why, for whatever reason, so many Africans doing nursing, man. And I was having a chat with someone on the phone, and I said, like, we were chatting about educational background. I said, I think you are a nursing student.
Yeah.
And she said, yes. And I said, like, it is not bad, right? But what we need to do, like, health is so big that we also diversify, that career or industry by being a doctor, being a clinical nurse, and just diversify. We cannot all, cluster at the level of nursing, just being, our end. And that is really important for us to give us the, the resources, the intellectual, capacity and diversity to build our community. We cannot have just one group of career, like how are we gonna, what about the engineers, lawyers, and we need just everything, doctors, researchers, we need these things to build a community, to be powerful. And I think we also have to learn from, migrants that have come here. I think what we don't do well as Africans is we don't learn from people that have been here before us. And I always, I'm a big fan of the Asian, how they do things, how they maneuver. There are opportunities, but we have to sometimes use those opportunities to create opportunities for ourselves. Sure. And I think that's what the Asians did. Whatever opportunities they met here, they have used it to create opportunities for themselves. For us Africans, it's like we are so narrow-minded and fixed on whatever is available. Like we want to keep, taking advantage of that until the end of it. We're not thinking of, okay, let's flip this around and make use of it for ourselves. In that way, we empower ourselves. Sure. We don't have to rely on this. And I think that's a good point, because we can sort of learn from this a lot to empower ourselves and our community. And to my next question would be, like, do we blame our young people themselves for not taking opportunities, or do we share the responsibility? What are all the factors, government or the service providers? Who are those we could also point blame towards? Because I believe that it is not just the young people, for we as a community have to mentor these people, show them opportunity. These are things you can do, like you are social workers. These are programs that are out there, link them up, you being around or being out there, talk to young people. These are things. Are we doing that enough, or can we just blame the young people?
I think I would just tweak the word blame and say that there is a lot of factors that we need to consider in terms of making use of these opportunities. And I think with our young people, I think like I said earlier, sometimes the opportunities are within reach. Other times we have to go. But I think I'll start, let's say employment. I think I talked about that earlier, that, the climate at the moment, there's a lot of people that are unemployed, being realistic about that. In saying that, I think also too that young people shouldn't use that as an excuse to not keep trying. There's a lot of programs, there's a lot of supports out there that they can tap into. There's a lot of government funded programs to support young people into employment. So young people need to ask those questions. They have to be proactive about their own sort of future. You have to be, because no one's going to hand over to you. You have to ask this question. You have to go out of your comfort zone. So I think the responsibility, it goes to the individual. You have to be responsible for your own thing, but also to understand that there are issues around discrimination within the workplace, where people find it difficult to work in certain areas because just the fact of being an African. And I think not many people like that, but it is an issue that we come across. We speak to young people as well who have encountered, the racism, the discrimination. But I think I would say, Australia, we have a better platform for success, if we can, for a better word, than, you know, coming from our backgrounds, you know, coming from a refugee camp, for example, you know, where there's opportunities, you know, where I wanted to go to, I thought, you know, one day I want to go to university, but back home there was no way I could do that, you know. There was no, that's right, you know, whereas in Australia here, you know, you can defer your payments, you know, go to university, you can defer your payments. Here there are government subsidy, you know, for certain training programs and as well. So we've got a better platform here to make something of our lives. Sure. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. No, it doesn't mean. Life itself is not easy.
It's never easy.
You know?
Sorry to cut you. I mean, for me, this idea of blaming other people for your life, I think it's an absolute waste of time.
Yeah.
If that's your focus, I think you should just put your energy to other things. Seriously. If you're going to blame other people for your own future, I think you need to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, how can you blame your situation, for instance, and you've literally been chosen out of so many other people who would want to be here, right? And on top of that, you're given, if you choose to do nothing, you can still get welfare.
Yes.
I mean, you tell me. So who are you going to blame?
Yeah.
It's for the individual himself to be real. Real at the end of the day. If you want something, if you're passionate about anything it is, anything at all, focus and go get it.
Yeah.
And don't expect other people to be there to necessarily actually just, you know, pave the whole path for you as well. Because let's face it, we're a young community, right? I'd say, you know, roughly 20 years or so. Now, here in Australia, how many people, for instance, work for themselves? So many. So in essence, if you really think about it, we don't all necessarily have to work for other people as well.
Yeah.
If you're good with your hands, you can become a tradie.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you're in a better position doing that within our community.
Yeah.
Simply because we have such a small network. If everyone knows this is your trade and this is what you do, they'll support you.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's the mentality we need to start promoting.
Yeah.
Support each other and encourage each other. Right? To do a wide area of things. And to be honest, like you said before, for instance, the Chinese communities, the European communities that came here, a lot of them have built their communities because of such mentality.
Yeah.
You know, as much as, fair enough, the Chinese, we all know, they're well known, for instance, for food, Chinatown. But that's like a base for a lot of other things. A lot of commerce, a lot of business gets done through those opportunities. But in essence, we as an African community should be also thinking about that in a sense. Because let's face it, we all just want to be in a platform where we can all share ideas, talk to like-minded individuals, and build each other up. But the more that, you know, people focus on this blaming, oh, I can't get a job. Or, you know, life is not, you know, giving me the opportunities that I deserve.
That is a key, that the notion of deserving and the entitlement. You know, it's you're not entitled to anything.
You have to go out and work for it. To be honest, I mean, I've done almost every single job you could imagine. When I came to Australia, one of the early jobs I had, I was washing dishes. That to me was an easy job because I'd have so much. I had so much work experience. And mind you, I'd see the pots, man, and they're not like the African pots where, you know, the ugali, the semolina stuck at the bottom there. You remember how you have to scrape that? Now you're in a situation where the machine is just there. You just have to. So I love that sort of work. Yeah, that was easy. I said, you know what? I'll keep working. Any opportunities came by. We started moving houses. Started cutting grass. You know, just to earn some pocket money on the side. From there, went to work as a waiter. From there, build on to other things. So the idea is, you can't necessarily expect everything to just come for you.
No, you got to start somewhere.
You know? You got to start somewhere. But you have to be the sort of person who says, you know what, I'm going to give it a go. I'm not going to blame anybody else for the opportunity. I'm willing and able. I have 2 hands, 2 feet. I'm a conscious human being with a good head. I'll do it.
Definitely, man.
And I think, you know, I'm a proud African, and I think there's a lot to be proud of in terms of our heritage. I think we are, you know, hardworking people. You know, historically, we've been self-sufficient. You know, our parents, you know, before our forefathers before that used their hands, used their creativity, and I think the generation within Australia, we shouldn't be complacent. We shouldn't be lazy and become dependent on welfare. That's a risk. You know, people think I can get money without doing anything.
Yeah,
so
exactly
you,
right.
you just settle for that,
That's
you know,
right.
and not settle for that. You know, there's a lot of potential out there. I speak to young people. There's a lot out there. Use it. You know, tap into it. You know. Forget about welfare, you know. It's just a safety net. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not here to sustain you for long, you know. And the other thing also too, I'm just, you know, I think I'm sort of going on a different train. There are a small minority of our young people who have found themselves in situations that make it difficult for them to make use of the opportunities that are available in Australia. And I'm talking about young people who are involved in criminal activities, for example, which have stemmed from, you know, negative associations, you know, drug use and other things. And I think that's an area that also we need to be aware of. Young people are frequenting the criminal justice system, you know, in and out of it. And it's become a pattern, and for the same reason of not, you know, tapping into what's in Australia and becoming drawn into the Australian way, you know, and finding themselves in situations they shouldn't be in.
Sure.
There is hope. There's a way out of that. You know, it's not all bad. You know, but again, it's about, you know, taking responsibility for your own actions in the first place, not blaming other people, but also to connecting with the services around there, so that you can, you know.
I think in terms of young people, just to raise your to go back to your point about you know, young people who get caught up in the criminal justice system. I think it's something really important for young people to really sort of reflect on the aspects of that. You look at it from a simple formula, if you like, risk and return. You're risking your opportunity here in Australia, thinking that you're going to get a financial return or something of that sort. Whereas at the end of the day, it's leading to a dead end. Because once you have that criminal record, for instance,
it makes them difficult.
You're limited in anything you really want to do. So in a sense, you have to be smart about the choices you make, but at the same time, always try and keep your options open. Australia is one of those places where anyone can reinvent themselves. And we as Africans here in Australia are living proof of that. Many of us have been given a second chance.
For sure.
Many of us, for instance, came here with nothing. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll end up with nothing. We'll use whatever it is we have to get to where we need to go. But the truth is, keep your options open here in Australia, because the moment you do other things that will jeopardize that, you've wasted your opportunity.
Oh, for sure. And I think, man, before, okay, this is my last question, right? But this is what I want us to do in terms of, you know, this Australian society being a great platform for African to, you know, bounce off and progress. You know, it's important that we sort of outline, you know, what specific opportunities. We know education is one, but what can us as a people, community use, you know, to address the economic, in an economic sense, help the young people in, sort of address some of the issues they have now, and maybe to start, I think that, you know, business opportunities too that we could engage, like food. You know, Asians are known for food, but what about African? I think we are pretty good at that. I think it is something we could bounce off on, and, you know, diversifying ourselves, like we mentioned before. I think it's another good thing. We have to, you know, engage more into research, you know, get to understand more about our community, ourselves. You know, I don't think we know much about ourselves as African. We have come from different African communities. We are not doing research to understand much about ourselves and what are the challenges within our community. And I think what are other things we can do to help ourselves and our young people. I think we need to guide these young people. They cannot do it by themselves. The opportunities that are out there were put into place by, you know, the Western communities, the Asian communities, for that young people, you know, the guide that young people. And I don't think we do that, but how can we do these things as a community to help ourselves and our young people?
I think our communities need to, I think, be united first. I think there's a lot can be done when we're united, when we have a vision in terms of where we want to go. I think at the moment, I think there's a lot of disunity. There's a lot of self-interest at play rather than a community, focused approach. And I think if we can start from there, and say, what is it? How can we come together to address some of the issues that we've got? What are the issues? What resources have we got? What can we tap into?
Yeah.
Like I said before, there are lots and lots of government funding grants, for neurological communities who want to do certain projects, who want to do certain programs, certain events. They're there, but we need our community to come together. Not so much focus on, we were talking earlier about, events.
Yeah.
Events are good, but sometimes they're not sustainable.
Yeah.
You've got to look further than that. What do we need here as a platform for our young people can continue to, and I think I haven't got an answer for that, but I think it's something that will come from discussions.
Yeah.
And with our leaders, with our young people, to identify what their needs are.
I think a lot of listening needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Specifically from the point of certainly parents of young people, but also everyone else who's invested in the youth. A lot of the times, for instance, from parents' perspective within the African community, they have expectations.
Yeah.
Some expectations that they have are a little bit unrealistic. I hate to say it,
Yeah.
but it's a known fact. Many parents will really sort of put the pressure on their children to perform well in school and do the things that they want their kids to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to really letting the child himself or the young person also have an input in that and say, look, to be honest, I don't necessarily want to go to university. I'd like to do a trade or an apprentice, or I'm into cars. I want to study about building. But parents need to be supportive about that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your child is really invested in. If you support them and give them 100% backing, there's a good chance they'll succeed in anything they want to do. But we need to be realistic. We need to listen. Secondly, also, I think it's important for even the youth themselves, right, to acknowledge the fact that they're in a very privileged position.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing we all need to accept. The fact that you're here and you're in Australia means you've literally won the lotto. And for you to also be the kind of person to make the most out of that, you make a lot of other people proud. And like I said initially, by leading by example, you will always be somebody who's always looking after the young people.
For sure, man.
So we'll keep it positive. We listen to each other, and at the same time, parents, please, listen to your kids. We know you know what's best for us as children growing up, but at the same time, if you don't give them the opportunity also to speak, then they'll never realize their full potential.
For sure, bro. Before I close, just want to speak to what you said, man. I think our young people do not appreciate the opportunities they have. For the reason I would touch on, Jemima, and I think this is what older Africans have that the younger Africans don't have. It's like appreciation of being an African. We have come from Africa. We understand what it means living in Africa. Africa is not a bad place, but for us that have come as refugees from difficult circumstances, that's like a guiding a factor in our lives. We know being Australia and having these opportunities is so great because we think about where we come from and look at what we have here and we want to make the most of it. But I think for our young people, they don't know that. They see themselves as Australian. And sometimes for things they have heard about Africa or seen about Africa, they distance themselves from Africa. They want to be Australian. And when they are rejected as Australian or not seen as typical Australian, they are caught up between identity crisis and sometimes leads to some of the problems they have. And I think we as older Africans should do that, should do a better work at translating into the younger people what it means to be an African. You could be Australian all you want, but understand you have African root and this is what it means, and these are expectations and responsibility to your people. Because they got us, bro. We do things we know there are people back home that are looking up to us. And what image it will have on them back home, and that is very important. So man, I just want to thank you guys for coming on. It was a great discussion, and thank you to our viewers. Leave your comments, subscribe to our channel, and thank you for your support as usual. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you.